trying to not replicate the machine world of the Matrix.
You want to have a jetpack.
Spider-Man is more like Grasshopper Man.
You want to unlock the secrets of the brain. Interesting.
Ultimately.
Please elaborate. So, welcome to the IDUN Technologies office in Switzerland. My name is Mark Melnikovic. I am a product developer and application engineer by IDUN, where we develop the Internet of Humans, bringing ear-EEG into consumer devices, bringing neuroscience into the world. And I'm joined today by Moritz, our CTO. Welcome.
Thanks, Mark. Happy to finally make it to this round, and you even have the furry slippers on, so all good for a start.
These furry slippers are from the western part of Ukraine, where I was on a journey to discover my roots. A year ago, before COVID, during COVID, we have to wear a mask to protect you, your children, your mother-in-law's mother? No.
And grandmother.
And grandmother, and you, in case we see you in real life. Hopefully in the future, as the numbers of COVID decrease a little bit more, we will join you with our real faces. Unmasked. So, Moritz, CTO of what I consider to be one of the coolest deep tech startups in Switzerland. You've been with the company for a while, but you just took over the CTO role. How's that feel?
Doesn't feel much different than before the role, which was technically head of R&D. I guess mostly a name change, but definitely can second the statement. It's one of the nicest topics that you can work on, which is the brain, and we are trying to unlock its secrets, and yeah, it's great to be a part of this.
You want to unlock the secrets of the brain. Interesting.
Ultimately.
Please elaborate.
Yeah, I think the brain is the most sophisticated piece of matter that we know. It's super intricate. It's fascinating in its workings, and it took me a bit from basically the journey through engineering to actually understand how amazing it is as a construct. And yeah, I was always intrigued by biology and how nicely sensors in biology are done, and how far we are in technology to replicate the feats that nature has already achieved in different systems. So we're getting closer, but not quite there yet. And this is something which I think is a super interesting topic to work on, even if it's looking fundamental principles of the brain, but also trying to understand what we can measure from the brain and what we can do with it, and making this widely available to people.
Yeah, you kind of made a mention there about maybe going in the direction of bioinspired design. It seems like it's been a dream in engineering that we can learn more from nature, whether we're trying to decompose how a leaf structure is stiff, and then we try to translate it into the way that we have stiffer materials or adaptable materials for the aerospace industry. How'd you actually come here into IDUN? Because I mean, now we're talking about neuroscience and translation from like laboratory to consumer products, but where do you kind of start in that journey?
So for me personally, was during my PhD. I was working on a project already related to EEG. It was about a portable 2-channel EEG system, which is supposed to do long-term recordings, which is something that currently cannot be really done in a nice way. You always need to go to a hospital setting. You get patched up with all the electrodes. It's time-consuming, and if you could take this out of the hospital and make it comfortable and long-term, you might lose a bit in terms of resolution, maybe signal quality because you have motion and so on. But what you gain is the constant access to the signal. And so very interesting project. And my job back then was in supplying the system with energy mainly. So energy harvesting, particularly from body heat. But what we discovered is that there's actually no good electrodes to do that job. So for me, the IDUN journey, although the company wasn't there yet back then, was to think about how can we make better interfaces, electrical interfaces or electrodes for long-term EEG. And I was looking a lot into polymers and if you can fill them with conductive particles, and coming from microsystems, nano engineering background, I tried to implement this. And there's also the biomimetics. So in the very early days, we tried to make electrodes that stick on the skin for themselves based on dry adhesion. We looked into
like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is more like Grasshopper Man, because the kind of structures that we replicated were from grasshopper feet, which makes them adhesive and allows them to crawl up very smooth surfaces. And that's when I met Severin, one of the co-founders, and she did a master thesis with me on the project. We microstructured electrodes, soft and skin-compliant electrodes, and that's how my first contact point with IDUN started. Simon and Severin went on to found the company. I went on to move into industry a bit, and then came back in the end of 2019.
I mean, that always, so it's really easy to have cool headlines on social media about this new thing that scientists just invented in the laboratory. And then you get the feeling that, wow, we have so much we can do in the world. Why has life not progressed faster? Why don't we have flying cars? And why don't I have a jetpack? What are like some of the translational challenges that you've encountered, like developing cool stuff in the lab, now trying to actually build a product with it?
Yeah, I mean, the self-adhesive or dry adhesive electrodes is the best example for it in IDUN context, because as is probably known today, our electrodes are not self-adhesive. They also don't need to be anymore. That's a different kind of story, but we encountered exactly this problem of scalability of production processes. So we came up with a really nice production flow, which was based on semiconductor technologies in a clean room, all the technology which is used there, and it worked. But it was not really scalable to what we want to do today, where we want to produce ideally millions of electrodes. And we had at this point, later also in the company, had to drop the everything self-adhesive and go for more scalable industrial standard fabrication processes.
And where do you think we're going to be going now with EEG, mobile EEG?
Hopefully into a mass market. So I think the main roadblock so far is it's too obtrusive. It's not really convenient. It's not really comfortable. It's very obvious. I think there are already great applications that can be done with having the ability to have neurofeedback or a feedback loop to detect your brain state as a reaction to different kind of inputs. But I don't see a future where people run around with caps or kind of contraptions around their heads in a public environment to measure their brainwaves, unless it's a medical device. Then this has kind of special circumstances, but even there you want to have something which is unobtrusive. And
we've seen that, from augmented reality, the release of Google Glass, bit of societal pushback when we were trying to bring these new forms of technology into society, and then we started to really clash with what is acceptable in society. What do you think about when we talk about monitoring brain activity, bringing these devices into the world? Do you feel like do you think this is the right time to do that? Or do you think there might be other hurdles just from a societal standpoint that we need to address?
Yeah, so I absolutely think it's the right time, because we now have the technological means to do it in an unobtrusive way through the ear canal, through hearables, and there will be hurdles for sure, because I can totally see that people are getting a bit freaked out by this brain sensing everything which is touching your thought or yourself, basically, which is somehow part of your brain. I can see why this could be problematic, and I mean, we discussed this topic a lot on how can we use this technology to make it safe, to make something good with it, and to not also communicate that we are not trying to read thoughts or read out someone's brain. That's like something you hear often when you go into a discussion regarding the topic. And this is absolutely not a space where we want to be as a company. So we're thinking a lot about applications that are actually helping the user to achieve something, and obviously in times where data privacy is a massive topic on how we can provide the best protection for people using the technology.
Do you have like a favorite sci-fi movie from your past that helps to channel your fears about the technology you're developing for the world, that you look to? Because many people look to Terminator and they say AI will take over the world, and then AI won't see a need for us, so it'll destroy us, which never really... The more I learn about artificial intelligence and developing these products, the less I feel like that would actually happen. Or even just from like, if computers learn empathy, why would they then want to destroy humanity? So is there anything, how is your view of what you're developing right now from an ethical standpoint sort of been shaped a bit by your past media experiences?
Yeah, so one movie that had a huge impact on me early on is The Matrix, and it kind of also fits into this topic. It basically covers the two areas that I was intensely working on. One is energy harvesting of body heat, because the machines use it to actually power their kingdom. And the other one is they induce or put, like by a direct link to the human brain, they put humans into this artificial world, which is the Matrix. It's not exactly what we want to do. Like we want to stay in the real world and make the experience or the interaction with technology better based on your brain state or emotional state. So trying to not replicate the machine world of the Matrix.
Well, an interesting point. If I remember from some of the YouTube videos I watch about the Matrix and people, they continue the story. And then, so for what I understand, originally the plan was that it wouldn't be harvesting like the heat and energy, but it would be harvesting the computational power of the human brain, which I wish they had done that, because actually it makes a lot more sense in some ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interested for Matrix 4 coming out in 2022, I believe. Keanu Reeves making a comeback. Should be pretty sweet.
I'm super excited about that one. It's going to be great.
But where do you think this dividing line is, kind of like between making technologies, giving it to people, you get like new functionality, you could say, as a person, or you understand yourself in a different way? Do you feel like there's a point where you start to become less human as we believe ourselves to be?
I think through technology that would be possible. I think if we talk about empathic technology, it won't make you less human. It's quite the opposite. It can also help you understand emotion. It can help you being human, I think. You could twist this thing around and say, okay, we are using this to manipulate your emotion and manipulate your feelings. Then I can see this route. But yeah, it's just like with every other technology or new technology, there's always a different path that you can go down. And so for sure there's a potential for that. It's, however, not the path that we have in mind as a company.
Well, we might not have it in mind, but what do we do if that happens? Like, how do we, because probably Mark Zuckerberg wasn't thinking about manipulating people's buying habits based on a Facebook feed when they were like founding Facebook. And I assume that he wasn't thinking about that. It seemed like they just, were doing something that seemed cool and it came together well. But like when we talk about forming these foundations right now for neurofeedback and neurotechnology as consumer products, like what's the responsibility that you feel, and how do we then direct and protect the users?
So I think from our perspective in the company, we need to have really clear ideas on where we want to go, and we need to make sure that we don't strive too far from this way, because there's always opportunities that might distract you or might think, okay, let's be opportunistic about this and maybe go a bit a different direction. I think it's very important that as a company, and also this includes everyone who's working for the company, can agree on a certain goal and certain path that we want to go down with this technology. And obviously, and this might have happened to Facebook later on, that they saw the big dollar signs and went a bit far from their initial ideas. So
Fun fact, I actually haven't been on Facebook for a month for the first time in a couple of years, because I've been working too much and I just couldn't focus on that social media channel anymore. And yeah, I don't miss it too much. It's just I don't, there's a few people that I'm not talking with as much anymore. So that reminds me I should probably check Facebook.
Exactly the same for me. I got a new notebook. I didn't transfer my password saving thing, and since then I didn't log onto Facebook, and I didn't feel the need to press the reset password button in order to get back. So it's almost exactly a month ago. So funny that you say that. Yeah, going back to what we can do, I think one is having a clear idea of what we want to achieve with the technology and following it. And the second one is, of course, there's technical aspects to it, how you can protect user data. I mean, we are also, just like everyone else, talking about data which is going through a cloud that we cannot control in a certain sense. We don't have the server in our facilities. It's somewhere in the US, hopefully in Switzerland next year. That's another thing. And yeah, we are. So I think these cloud providers are helping us for the moment to make this as safe and secure as possible. But we still think ahead on what could be a next iteration of the product where we can protect the user better. And one example is if we talk about machine learning, talking about federated learning, where we can keep all the raw data on the edge or on the device, that so the user basically has the data in his hands or in his ear in our case.
Yep.
And we don't communicate any of that into the cloud and make it accessible for other entities.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, there's many applications that are kind of probably going in this way, because we've gone from, this point where our website is just like HTML and CSS, and now they're essentially cloud applications. Every website is basically a centralized cloud application, which then is like distributed through content delivery networks. And then you basically just have a window on your device. But if we go more towards the edge computing, then we really are going back to this decentralized way of protecting privacy, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of where cryptocurrency is going as well, I think. So this, yeah, I mean, I first was starting to think about the decentralized web from watching Silicon Valley, which sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it's true. We're actually moving more and more towards decentralized services, and at the same time protecting authenticity and ownership in the proper way if we do it through blockchain technologies. I don't understand it all, but it seems like it is a solution.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems to me like this development of the internet, it was so fast, like inflational growth, that these things kind of got lost along the way. And now it seems like we start to catch up a bit with the fundamentals of data privacy and security, making stuff going from very centralized to decentralized. And catching up with some fundamentals that we kind of lost in this very fast growth. And everything that it pulled up with it, like it's always a acceleration in one field fuels the next one. And yeah, so it's a topic, and I see it with all the big players on the market that is very prominent these days, and it's also very necessary, and it is required to sell a product because users will not accept it anymore otherwise.
Yeah, it just got me thinking. It's strange how things feel like they're set when you're born and you grow up in a certain understanding of the world. Like you believe that TV will be there, and then all of a sudden you start going from a cassette to a CD to streaming music. And I mean, everything we're doing is still in flux. And so if I think about not using Facebook, it's not because I don't like the platform, it's just because there was so many channels. And I'm wondering how neurofeedback is going to kind of open things up, I feel like, for the way that we consume content and our relationship to data in general.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I hope it's actually reducing complexity instead of adding an extra layer of complexity, because this is something that we have seen. It's like more diversion, more complexity, and as you say, it's difficult to keep up. Like I feel old when I say that, but I cannot keep up with the social media platforms anymore that are state of the art or trending these days. And I hope that by understanding better your needs for media intake, that it can become more personalized without you putting in the conscious effort of making it more personalized.
Yeah, I mean, when I started like first doing a website and then a blog and then Twitter, it was all about, I mean, at some point you just can't keep up with the content creation methods and systems. And this idea of, I feel like, because really all you're trying to do is filter and share your personality, or the personality that you want to project to the world. So if you really do have a Learjet, or if you're just taking a picture in front of a Learjet for your Instagram account because you're a fashion blogger, which is fine. I was up on Mount Riggy when we had a lot of snow during this winter, and we saw some what appeared to be very well-dressed Instagram bloggers with really cool like moon boots for the snow.
Oh, nice. I had those as a kid as well, moon boots.
Yeah, me too. They're kind of, there's not enough snow anymore for moon boots in Switzerland.
That's also true.
Yeah, this idea of like cool fashion technology, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the brain-computer interfaces and real like integration with fashion, with our lifestyle. That's one of the things that really excites me about the future here.
Yeah, so you see fashion items that are enable neurofeedback.
I mean, we've talked about this with wearables for a long time. Like wearables are coming on the market, and we're talking about having like user interfaces on our arm. Now we talk about projecting augmented reality interfaces, which makes a lot more sense than doing one in front of your face, because you don't have any like tactile feedback, and it's always weird and awkward.
Yeah.
And now we've basically come to the point of still having a smartwatch as one of the primary elements, one of the primary devices, which I think crosses fashion and technology. There's the ring sometimes for controlling your devices, and now we're basically working on bringing neuroscience to hearables, because it's like a very scalable wearables platform. And you can also personalize quite a bit. I mean, when you're wearing your headphones, I think you're also a bit of an audiophile, that you might have like more of a personal relationship to the headphones that you wear at different times.
And they are still lacking a fashionable aspect. I think there could be much. I mean, they're so widespread right now, but they have little customization typically.
Well, and it's difficult. I mean, when you're scaling a product to like millions of units and you're selling them throughout the world.
Yeah, fair enough.
Personalization,
needs to come through skins or similar to the smartphones.
Well, and that's why it's so cool, like with media services. I mean, sometimes people are paying thousands of dollars for the right skins for a game.
Yeah.
So like moving towards the open world environments and the virtual environments where we're also projecting our personalities, it seems like there's going to be a lot of opportunity there to do some good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in the VR space, it's so far maybe lacking an empathic component, which is difficult to convey. And this is something which could make this world much more immersive for someone who is going through it.
Yeah, bringing like the understanding of emotional intelligence and like bringing this more into the way that we interact with virtual environments. Because I mean, this has always been an issue where, okay, you're playing a game and you're communicating through chat or text or talking. And then there might be, yeah, I mean, I've never really been into the gamer environment where people are like mobbing each other or being aggressive to one another during the gameplay. But it seems like this would be another way to understand user behaviors and project them.
Yeah, same for me. Didn't experience it firsthand, but it seems to be a big topic. So just trying to remember. But I had a chat with one of the people at Xbox, and they were actually interested in the technology to detect. So we were coming from, okay, emotional state, we can do different things with it. And what they were most interested in is to detect if someone is like emotionally down from harassment in games and have like an automated way of detecting that and banning users and stuff like this. Was a new angle that wasn't really on my mind before, where they're really, really much interested in the Xbox world or console environment.
So what are you dreaming of, since you have a nice cool dream retro shirt?
Yeah, exactly. My dream shirt. So yeah, I think we can dream of a future where technology understands us. And that's something I think is really exciting. It's kind of a missing attribute a bit. So technology in all its has so many amazing features, but it's still a bit cold and machine-like. And I think people always thought this would come through humanoid robots, like giving them a face, like having a robot with a human-looking face, and therefore tapping into your having a different type of relationship. But maybe that doesn't need to be the way, and it's even a bit old-fashioned to think it's only hardware-centric rather than going into the digital environment that you're surrounded with.
And you also have, are those socks depicting the universe?
I do think this might be a multiverse.
Milky Way? Oh, it's a multiverse.
A multiverse where there's different universe bubbles, but I didn't quite figure them out yet. Might need to stare at them for a bit longer. Yeah, the universe is something else I dream about. Yeah, I'm excited about, let's put it this way, and how we can get out there. And that's also something that, people here share in the company, not in the picture, but we have a nice rocket over there and the space station, and we like space stuff.
Well, it's also on our company values.
Exactly.
The voice is the limit. The 10th brightest star in the sky, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Or depending on the night.
in the armpit of the Orion, that's where we feel at home.
2021, how are you feeling about that? You've grown in the company from about 5 employees and now we're about 20. What do you want to do until the end of the year?
Yeah, really excited about the growth that we have, and I think we've put together a really amazing team, highly talented and also driven people, and when you bring this together with a good topic, then I think great things can happen. And for us, what that means in terms of goals, we want to show the world that our technology is not just an idea, but it's real. We want to show the applications, and this is something we will do with actually shipping development kit out pretty soon, and then rolling out features on our cloud platform. And yeah, that's the biggest goal, and it's, I think, exciting times for IDUN. It's exciting for me as well to grow with this process. And yeah, although I miss laboratory times sometimes, although I've been in the lab yesterday almost a full day, which is rare these days, I also enjoy working with people more and more, and it's different challenges, new challenges, but I find it equally exciting, and it's never getting bored, and particularly if you have a great team such as ours.
That reminds me of a last podcast we had with Kyle, where he said, "Make it happen" in 2021. It was a pretty cool thing to hear. And yeah, I'm also pretty excited to continue working with you and releasing our product, releasing our development kit, and getting it out into the hands of people, and seeing how neurotechnology, mobile technology, can integrate with society and solve real world problems, I'd say. Cool. So thank you, Moritz. It's great talking to you. Thank you all out in whichever digital land you are viewing us from. We will be back quite soon for our next installment next month. And until then, we say adieu. Tschüss. Schönen Abend.